Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm Jimmy Allen. This is the After Hours Lounge. We're brought to you by Bellevue University. You can head over to bellevue.edu, register for classes, and attend classes at Bellevue University as early as December. We got a great show lined up for you. We're going to pull out the black couch. I'll get the book out. It's therapy session time. How you feeling? 56-7. Nebraska falls to Indiana. We're going to talk about what Matt Rule had to say after the game, what Tony White and Marcus Satterfield had to say today. Both had very interesting quips for the media. Dan, I want to get your thoughts on those at 6:30. Speaking of Bellevue University, the head basketball coach for the men's team, Lucas Gabriel, and one of his starters, Christian Carter, will be in studio with us at 6:15. We'll buy or sell on topics around college football. The halfway point has been reached. What does the landscape of college football look like today on October 22nd? We'll take a look at 7 o'clock. We will give you our Papillion Sanitation trash takes of the night. Dan, I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler for mine tonight. I think somebody has set the bar a little bit too high for nicknames. And I'm going to tell you who that is at 7:15.
Uh-oh. Okay.
At 7:30, what did we get right? What did we get wrong? And what did we not see coming this week in college football? I left Indiana's score against Nebraska out of the equation because that spoke for itself. 56-7. And Matt Rule talked to the media after the game, and he was very adamant that he wasn't disappointed in the team. He was disappointed in himself, and he was disappointed in the coach's inability to get this team ready. Listen, we talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago, Dan. We talked about how Matt Rule is loyal to a fault at times. I mean, we got to remember he never really pulled Jeff Sims out last year when the fumbles and interceptions were aplenty. Jeff Sims injured himself, and that led to Heinrich Haarberg getting that start. I will never feel comfortable saying that Nebraska is back until teams stop lining up on fourth down and look like they have all the confidence in the world that they're going to convert it. Indiana lined up for a fourth down conversion on the first drive of the game on Saturday, and Curt Cignetti didn't even hesitate to go for it. Now, I will say this. 2 drives later, Indiana lined up to go for it on fourth down inside the red zone. They did get turned away. But I am a little bit of an outlier. Listen, I understand the final score is 56-7, and that has to mean something. But this team looked like it never recovered after Dante Dowdell fumbled that football on 4th and 2 inside the red zone. And yes, I understand that was very early in the game. There was a whole lot that happened after it. But even like Rule's body language on the sideline, they showed him talking to Dowdell on the sideline, and his just body language didn't look great. And he talked about it after the game and was like, there's a lot of guys around here. He goes, I didn't hear it today. And he said that really quickly, but that clearly wasn't the case because he said it for a reason, that guys start going, oh, here we go again. And I think specifically the two people that sit on this side of this desk on most nights were very wrong about the crowd at Indiana. I think that was a much more hostile environment than I think anybody, including the two people that sit on this side of the desk, thought it would be. I will give the Indiana crowd credit for that because they showed up and they were engaged in that game. Listen, they had a lot to cheer for, and that helps a lot, right? But it felt like Nebraska, body language-wise, felt like it had too much to overcome before the game even started. And Curt Cignetti leaned on that, and he talked about it in his post-game and said, we're going to lean on these guys, and we're going to make them feel uncomfortable and see how they respond. And that's exactly what happened. And you know how they responded? They didn't.
Not well.
Yeah, they disappeared.
Not well is
I was
the short way to put it.
I was very surprised after the game how open, and I mean, it was out there for everybody to see, but I was very surprised with how open that Matt Rule was about struggling with the RPO game, because that was clearly what picked them apart. Listen, Curtis Rourke put on a masterpiece that first half. But he talked about that and how his team struggled with it. And you've seen this for the better part of 2 decades in Green Bay, where if you can master a back shoulder throw, it can win you a couple championships. And that's really what Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre hung their hat on. But it's the most impossible play in football to defend. I mean, it's put in a spot where only one person can go get it, and if you're expecting it, and you could time it perfectly, and Curtis Rourke did 6 times on Saturday. And yes, I know Tommy Hill, Sierra Wright, and Buford all gave up a touchdown on Saturday. If your top 3 cornerbacks are all giving up touchdowns, that's not a winning recipe at all. But I mean, it just felt like, and Tony White talked about this today, and we're going to get into this a little bit later in the show, but he talked openly about the fact that when you saw a tackle on Saturday, in the rare occasion you did, it was one guy making the tackle. And yes, the corners were giving up the touchdowns, and Indiana did a great job in making sure they were getting one-on-one coverage, and Curtis Rourke found the open man every single time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there wasn't a situation where I even seen Nebraska threaten double coverage on a wide receiver. Like when you have 5 defensive backs out there, and you are still lining up in man to a fault, like at some point, like, I understand that the game got way out of hand and they went into sink or swim mode really quickly. But the defense, which and I tweeted about this on Saturday, Nash Hutmacher was getting doubled and triple teamed the majority of the game. And there were a lot of guys that were really highly thought of before this season. And I'm not willing to bear this defense yet. We're just talking about Saturday here.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, Ty Robinson had a ton of one-on-one situations and just was not getting there. And that is not something that I thought I would have said before this season started.
It was just, I mean, so I will be fair. I didn't catch probably the first 15 to 20 minutes airtime total of the game. And then when I turned it on, I just said, well, here we are again. But there is one thing I would like to address to Husker Nation, like right now, and we're going to get into the Satterfield comments and the Tony White comments that they made today a little bit later on in the show. And you'll find why there might be a little bit of worry, but I would just like to remind everybody, if you thought that Indiana was bad,
they're not. Spoiler alert. They're not. And I tried convincing John Schreiner about this.
Indiana is not a bad football team, but if you thought the outcome of that game was bad, I would caution you, please hold on to your hats for this weekend against Ohio State. And
In what way? In what way?
Be prepared to basically see what Indiana is able to do much more polished.
Ooh, I have a different take.
Ohio State is a much more polished team, but to go back to Indiana, it was just, I think we're finally getting a little bit of what I'm going to call freshman Dylan, where he is still young. He is a 5-star. And yes, I know everyone out there who's listening in their car or on their home radio, watching us on 1620, the TV, is screaming right now going, that's not an excuse. He's a 5-star. He's supposed to be ready. No.
I think it's interesting that you put any of this on Dylan. I know he threw 3 picks, but
it's definitely not on Dylan because 7 of those points are Dylan. And
so
the
hold
56 in Indiana's favor is on a side of the ball that he technically can't control, in a sense.
It's hard not to get this now because we're going to talk about Satterfield in a minute, but like that moment where they ran the jet sweep with Nair and it looked like he was going to throw it downfield. He wasn't. I don't think that was a design. There was nobody for him to throw it to.
Yeah.
I texted a group of friends and I said, we've run out of ideas. And that's the exact same way I felt at Minnesota a year ago when they ran that double pass with Jeff Sims. And it feels like this offense, if their first 5 plays don't go well, they can't build off of anything. And you can argue even if that happens, they can't build off of anything. Right now, through this part of the season, UTEP, 223 yards on 42 carries, 5.3 yards a carry. Colorado, 149 yards on 35 rushes, 4.2 yards a carry. Northern Iowa, 142 yards, 22 rushes, 6.4 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois, 48 yards on 33 carries. That's 1.4 yards per carry. Purdue, 162 yards on 32 carries. That's 5 yards a carry. Rutgers, 97 yards on 42 carries. 2.3 yards per carry. Indiana, 70 yards on 29 carries, 2.4 yards per carry. So what that tells you is Nebraska is 4-0 when averaging 4 yards a carry. They're 1-2 when they're not. And that one game being against Rutgers, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But something has happened, and it could be the step up in competition. It could be tendencies put on film for defensive coordinators. Like, Nebraska's ability to run the football has been non-existent basically since Big Ten play started against everybody but Purdue. By the way, you can find 11 sixth graders at your local elementary school that could probably rush for 4 yards a carry against Purdue. So it comes back to, yes, and it absolutely, like, the passing game has not been able to really replicate what we saw earlier in the season and first half of games. But when you have a freshman quarterback, you have to be able to run the football. I don't care if there's 6 stars. You have to. I don't care if you have Aaron Rodgers. Ask the Jets. You need a running game. I don't care if you have Tom Brady. You need to have a running game. And when there's no fear of running the football, or your running backs are putting the ball on the ground, defenses are able to pin their ears back. And when you heard this coaching staff talk before the season about how there was going to be a focus on turnovers, Nebraska was +6 in the turnover margin heading into Saturday. They're now +2. They're -4 in the 2 losses between Illinois and Indiana. Does this team look better functionally than it did a year ago? In the wins, not necessarily in the losses. So some of those problems are still rearing their ugly head. That I don't care how good your quarterback is. And listen, there are some problems with Dylan Raiola. His footwork doesn't look as good. He clearly looks more uncomfortable. But he didn't have any, like, against Illinois, he missed some open guys. That was not the case on Saturday. Like,
Yeah.
Even when there were guys open, he was getting pressured pretty heavily. And then you had the throw to Ja'Cory Barney that he probably should have just tucked and ran. But I kind of wonder, like, there's been a lot of discussion. I heard Sip talk about this on Unsportsmanlike Conduct about getting a Heinrich Haarberg package ready. And here's why I have a problem with that. It has nothing to do with Heinrich Haarberg. I have great respect, and I think Heinrich Haarberg is a really great athlete, and I think he deserves to see the field. He's not going to be here for the next 3 years. Dylan Raiola is. And if your answer to your offensive woes is break glass in case of emergency and put a running quarterback in, I have a lot of questions about more than just Marcus Satterfield. Because, and Heinrich Haarberg got you 5 wins a year ago. He was very formidable when he was out there. But the fact is that you wasted a lot of resources. You spent a lot of resources on Dylan Raiola to go make sure he ended up in Lincoln. You put a lot of resources in trying to get some guys to build around him. What does that say to the contingency of recruits you're trying to get if you go, well, we don't know what to do with Dylan, so we're going to have to put somebody in that can run the football? That sends a really bad message.
Counterpoint.
Your mic's off.
I didn't realize I turned it off. My apologies. Counterpoint. I don't think it sends that bad of a message. I just think it says that we want to protect the guy who we know has more life left in him when it comes to college eligibility. And, Heinrich is built for that kind of an offense. We've been hearing on Sportsmanlike Conduct joke about it all week. The wild Heine. We want a wild Heine package. But, it's something that John said earlier on today, is that, well, then what happens if we do have a wild Heine package and you just know that, all right, number 10's in the game. That's Heinrich Haarberg. What's he going to do the minute he gets the snap?
He's gotten better at throwing the football, though. He's gotten better at throwing the football. And I don't necessarily hate the idea of the package itself. I hate the fact that you don't have any other plan. That's my problem. And I don't understand for the life of me why, if Ja'Cory Barney is such an emphasis, and this isn't a dig at Ja'Cory Barney, but if it is a priority to get Ja'Cory Barney the ball on jet sweeps and get him out in space and make sure he gets the ball behind the line of scrimmage, why are they not throwing the ball downfield to him? That is, if he is that fast and that dynamic and you believe in him that much, then why is the game plan not to see what he can do maybe 7, 10, 15 yards beyond the line of scrimmage? Why was Jalen Lloyd so effective in downfield passing a year ago with a, by all intents purposes, a lesser than arm talent in Heinrich Haarberg, that he has been irrelevant up until this point of the season. You went out and got 2 big-bodied wide receivers, and listen, Nair and Banks need to do their job. They need to do a better job of getting open, but the scheme has not helped either. And I'm going to save this point for the Satterfield discussion, but the offensive coordinator today at Nebraska specifically brought up that they've had a problem with perimeter blocking. The guy I just talked about, Ja'Cory Barney, is designed to have 4 perimeter plays a game. What are we doing? That's my problem. And when Matt Rule talked today, the most interesting comment that I took from him for this entire post Indiana pre-Ohio State game was, he said, we're going to find out a lot about this team. We're going to find out a lot about these coaches as well. And he kind of chuckled after that. But we've talked about it. He doesn't say things by accident.
No, he's very purposeful. And if you're a coach in that locker room right now, I think you're shaking a little bit.
Well, I think
Tony, and you're saying, is there someone who's not listening? Is there a coach who's being ineffectual within the locker room?
Tony White seemed a little more on edge than he normally does today. He's kind of an edgy guy anyway. But you have to wonder if that's part of the reason. Like, clearly he gave up 56 points on Saturday. But I don't think Tony White has aspirations to go be a head coach. You can make the argument Tony White lost $55 million in that 56-7 loss on Saturday. And I would listen to that argument. He may have a little bit of buyer's remorse about coming back. And if he wants to be a head coach next year, you got to show it. Saturday and this Saturday, last Saturday and this Saturday coming up are your money-making games on this schedule. Well, you lost some last week. You have an opportunity to get right and probably earn a little bit of that respect back on Saturday.
Yeah. It also was interesting to me, just going back to the defense from last Saturday. Why aren't we playing Ty and Nash basically all at the same time? Almost the entire game.
Here's the problem. They did a lot on Saturday. They just weren't visible. And that's where the issues come in.
Yeah, but they weren't always seeing the field together. And that was when I think we saw the most success against the hated Colorado Buffaloes, was when Nash and Ty were working in tandem on opposite ends of the line at the same time. Because I think it requires an offensive game planner to have to say, all right, we have to deal with one and we have to deal with the other.
So
we have to do something for it. And by all means, that Indiana front 5,
they did their job.
They're very good, but they're not that good.
Listen,
if you want to talk about a team that gets so much quarterback pressure, this was my one stat.
I think we've got to stop doing that, though. I think we've got to stop doing that. I think they might be that good.
It worries me because it's making me eat my words from last week. And I don't like eating my words. As we all don't on sports radio.
John Schreiner conveniently took this week off after telling us about how much Indiana sucked for an entire week last week. But the Curt Cignetti debate is really interesting, right? Because Matt Rule talked about this, I think it was Wednesday when he spoke, where he was like, listen, this is what you get when you get me. I'm coming from the NFL. That guy was able to get guy A, B, and C to come with him from JMU, and that's kind of the way the world works now when a coach leaves somewhere. And I wonder how much in the grand scheme, and listen, I think Nebraska makes a bowl game this year. I still think they beat UCLA. I still think they beat Iowa, and I think they beat Wisconsin. And I think that they could clearly beat USC because that's apparently just what Big Ten teams do.
Yep.
But I wonder how much hiring a guy, and I still think Matt Rule is the right guy too, and I want to preface that with when I say this, is I wonder how much hiring a guy that didn't have a tie to a previous team that could bring in players that could help right away is going to hinder the growth of Nebraska in the early years. Because if you miss on guys like David Sanders Jr., the offensive tackle that committed to Tennessee, or guys like Ryan Wingo, who's already making an impact at Texas, and guys like Nate Frazier, who's playing at Georgia, who were all tied to Dylan Raiola, and you miss out on those guys. That was kind of the thought process around compensating for not being able to bring in guys to the transfer portal with ties to Matt Rule was, okay, we got this 5-star freshman. We can go out and get other 5-star players that are going to want to come here and play with him. That's not going to be the case if you're losing 56-7. So what's the contingency plan? Now, Nebraska's got a really stout recruiting class. We talked about Christian Jones, the linebacker from Westside, and it doesn't seem like there's any doubt in that class staying together right now.
Mm-hmm.
You hope that's the case if Saturday goes similar. With that being said, I watched the entire game on Saturday. I understand everything I just said. I will be surprised if it looks similar to the way it did last Saturday in Columbus, because I have that much faith in Tony White and I have that much faith in Matt Rule. And listen, we just picked apart. We're going to pick Tony White apart in a little bit here also. But when we've seen what this coaching staff looks like with their back against the wall, and they usually come out and respond to adversity. And I expect that to be the case next Saturday.
And you know what, Jimmy? This is your fault.
Why is this my fault?
The feelings that I have in my heart.
Hey, 10-2 is still a possibility. Keep that in mind, Dan.
Okay, well then never mind. Then we're okay. No.
They are 5-2. People forget.
Ever since I started producing this show, I said, wow, I'm really going to start paying attention to Husker football and taking it more seriously. And it's just been heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. After now, a little, this is a singular week of heartbreak. I was really
pretty heartbreaking, though, yeah.
I didn't think I would have to revisit this emotion so closely. I thought that John was going to be here and I could just disassociate while you guys talked about the Huskers all night. But, it's always a good exercise in emotional maturity.
Well, hopefully, Dan, you've been paying attention more to Bellevue University men's basketball as well. Their head coach, Lucas Gabriel, is going to join us on the other side of the break here. If you missed the opening segment tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620 or wherever you may find your podcast at. It was brought to you by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. It is a big game on the road in Columbus on Saturday. And if you're making the trip out there and you want to be the best dressed Husker fan in the Horseshoe, stop by 78th and Dodge on your way out of town. Grab a polo, quarter zip vest, or a jacket from our friends from Mizzen and Maine, Peter Millar or Johnny O. Tell John and Dan and the crew that After Hours sent you. They got the best in red, black, gray. They've got all the colors with the Husker and embroidered on the materials. Check out their options from Mizzen and Maine, Johnny O, and Peter Millar at 78th and Dodge. Jerry Ryan's been dressing Omaha for over 50 years. We'll be right back talking Bruins basketball on 1620 The Zone.
No read. Yeah, give me an extra minute. Okay. Ah.
It's 6:28 on a Tuesday night here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Bellevue University. You can keep up to date on all things Bellevue athletics by downloading the BU Bruins app to your smartphone tonight. Speaking of those Bruins, the head Bruin of the men's basketball team, Lucas Gabriel, is in studio with us. He's brought Christian Carter with him. Coach, this is one of my favorite interviews. I tell you that every time you're in here. I appreciate you making time for us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having us. We appreciate it too.
I'm going to bring up a little bit of the negative first. Yep. 2-9 to start the season a year ago. But you end up winning the conference championship. You punch your ticket to the tournament by winning the conference tournament as well. In that 2-9 start, you start off 0-6. How important is it you start off quickly this year?
It's very important. I mean, last year we obviously put a ton of pressure on ourselves to win the league and win the conference tournament. That was the only way we were going to get to nationals, was to do that.
Yeah.
And we did it. Credit to the
convincingly,
guys.
By the way. I want to point that out.
It was. We finished super strong. But if you can have a strong non-conference record and then just a solid conference record, now you give yourself a chance for an at-large bid to the March Madness, and you take a little pressure off that time of year where you can go into the conference tournament knowing that, well, what seed are we going to be? But we're in, if that makes sense. So
a little bit different approach this season because it's not the North Star Athletic Association Conference this year. You guys have made the jump.
No, this will be the last year.
I'm sorry. Okay, so
last year North Star. But Jamestown has come back to the league
because the GPAC imploded essentially.
They left the GPAC, and so Jamestown is back, who used to be in the league with us. I think their last year with us was 2017-18, and so they're obviously a team that makes it to the national tournament like we do every year. So adding a national tournament team to the league, or a team that consistently gets there like we do, it makes it tougher, but we're excited for the challenge.
Speaking of that tournament appearance, you guys played Langston in the opening round. You saw them early in the season, super competitive matchup. You basically limped into that game in Oklahoma. Is there anything you take away from that tournament level experience that'll be portable to this season?
Oh, I do. I think that the year before we had a down year, we did not make it to nationals, and I think sometimes when it's a lot of players' first time getting to nationals, you go in there with, hey, it's been a great season, kind of a happy-go-lucky attitude that whatever happens from this point on is great.
Sure.
When you get a bunch of guys on your team who've been to nationals before and now it's their second time going.
Yeah.
The second time, they're not going to have fun. They're not going. Just getting there is not enough for them. So I think having that experience is huge. If we can take care of business and do what we need to do, I do believe we have a national tournament level team. If we can get back in there, I think the guys will approach the game with a totally different mentality. So I think that'll be great for us.
Two of those guys you took with you to Oklahoma are not with you this year, Jerome Bynum and then Makeem Lattermill, both graduate. Who's going to replace those two guys from a productivity standpoint?
Well, we had some red shirts. We had three guys redshirting last year. Raphael Allen, RJ Smith, and Matthew Mathick. Matthew Mathick was the Council Bluffs Player of the Year when he was in high school. Redshirted for us. He's gained 20 pounds of muscle. I mean, he looks like an absolute animal in the gym.
Sure.
He's going to give us a lot, if not even more, than what Makeem gave us last year. We playing kind of that point guard, combo guard role that Jerome played. Obviously, I have Christian here with me. Caleb Chang is back, as well as Raphael Allen, who redshirted for us, will also pick up some of that slack. We also signed we signed their leading scorer, who was a point guard as well. His name's Willie Williams. He's got as much talent as any guard we've had at Bellevue, and anyone that knows anything about our tradition knows
there's been some pretty good guards.
Statement.
Yeah,
that's a big statement. But his talent level is off the charts. He's doing a really good job of buying into us and our program. And I think if you come out to games or you follow us, he's going to be a guy that you're going to absolutely love watching the next 2 years.
Is there anybody that was on the roster last year that isn't back this year?
Well, Jaden Phillips is still a part of our team program. He came in with a few academic issues. We're going to redshirt him to get him caught up so that he can graduate.
I was going to say, if he's not on the team, that's really weird. I just seen him at the volleyball match like 3 weeks ago.
No, he isn't. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's been great. He's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Sure.
Sometimes guys come in with credit issues from the junior colleges, prior stuff before getting Bellevue. So he just needs to get caught up academically because for us, we don't play guys based off eligibility always. Our whole goal is to get guys in here, get them graduated so that they can get good jobs and become productive members of society. So he wasn't going to graduate this year, so we're going to redshirt him. That way we can keep him on scholarship, and we'll get him graduated the next year. So he'll be a guy though that he played big minutes for us last year. We will
Yeah.
not have him available to us this season.
We'll catch up with those guys that is going to be available this season. Christian Carter is with us tonight. Coach kind of talked about it a little bit. Chris, how is your role from a leadership standpoint going to change this season?
It's gonna change by just stepping into that role of like how Twin, McKeem, and Jerome did, just being those leaders, being that calming presence that guys can look at, and being someone on the team they can just look up to and be like, hey, they look at me and they're like, okay, we're calm down, just in the middle of the game, anything, just to settle them down.
Am I the only one that ever referred to McKeem as McKeem? Because I don't think I've heard anybody else call him anything other than Twin, by the way.
Yeah. McKeem always goes by Twin.
Okay.
That's what we call him. But yes.
Chris, you didn't shoot the ball a ton a year ago, but you did grab 103 boards, had 57 assists. I referenced you a lot on the play-by-play as the straw that stirred the drink. Do you plan on taking more shots this year, or are you perfectly fine being the facilitator?
Just any given game, if the ball comes to me, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna be aggressive. I've been in the gym. This is my last year, so I've been in the gym like no other, getting shots up. So when my shots come, I'm gonna knock it down. But if some games the ball's not bouncing my way, I gotta impact the game somewhere else, rebounding, getting my teammates involved, just doing anything that helps us win some basketball games.
That kind of helps me lead into this next question because I asked Coach Gabriel about this a couple times last season. But you guys ran that platoon style switching in and out where you had 5 guys come off the court, 5 guys come on. How did that go over in the locker room when that was being discussed?
I mean, all of us just wanted to win. I feel like we all just bought into it, and that's what helped us at the end of the year.
It worked.
Yeah,
Hard to argue that.
we all bought into it. We all, like, as a team, we took it upon ourselves to look at each other and look at ourselves and said, hey, this is for the greater good of the team. And it worked, and we were all happy about it. We got 2 championships, made it to the national tournament, so no complaints here.
What defines success for you in your senior season?
Finding success is winning some basketball games, winning the league tournament, winning the league, and then getting back to the national tournament, and then getting somewhere in the national tournament. I've been in the national tournament twice in my 4 years here, and I want to go one more time, and I want to try to make some noise in there, which I haven't.
Coach, we'll go back over to you to wrap this up. We're catching up with Lucas Gabriel, head basketball coach of the men's program at Bellevue University. Not to ask for the entire blueprint to success, but will we see more 5-on-5 switching out this year, or was that a one-year type thing?
I don't know if we'll do 5-on-5. We do like the sub. We like to wear people down. We do feel like we're a very deep team. I do see us playing, at least 9 guys every game. I think there'll be games where we play 10 and even get into 11.
Yeah.
I do. So I think that'll be great.
I think Bill Mullins' fingers get worn out at some point by taking stats over there on the boards.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing about Christian, since we have him here.
Sure.
And with him, you had asked him, is he going to take more shots and things like that? And I do think that he'll score more for us. But one thing I want to point out, he had the highest plus minus on the team last year. He was absolutely, when you called him the straw that stirred the drink, he was absolutely the key to our success in the run last year. He had a plus minus of a positive 125 on the
That's
season.
good, by the way.
That's really good. So it was easily the best for our team. And I don't claim to be the smartest coach. I don't know everything about basketball by any means. I did know this. When he was on the court, we were winning.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep him out there as much as I can.
I mean, he started every game for a reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you know what? Maybe the traditional stats jump off the page at you, but that NBA stat they use, that plus minus chart, that does jump off the page at you. He's in the game, we win. So he'll be playing.
I can't help but notice this, and I'm not saying it because you're here. I think I've told you this off air before, but whenever you're around your players, whether it's here, whether it's after a game, whether it's during the game, whether it's before a game, there seems to be this brotherhood, this playing for each other mentality, and that seems like that stems from you through your assistants down through your roster. Why do you think that is?
That's the way I was taught to play basketball. It's the whole message that we're trying to get across to our guys is that nobody's bigger than the program. And when you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself, it's really special, you know. And we want we want our guys to have that feeling and know that feeling of being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, that's really special. And we try to run our program that way. We try to get guys that we think will buy into it. You know, it's not like high school where I'm kind of just dealt the hand that I'm dealt, and I
Sure,
have
these are your guys.
these are guys that we go out and we find, and you know, sometimes other coaches may not appreciate our players, or maybe they didn't want some of them. We are able to find guys that we see their talent and we see the value in them, and that's a huge part to why we've won 7 championships in the last 6 years.
We're getting ready to go on a run here. Excuse me, to have every boys basketball team in the Metro on this show over the next 2.5 months. There's a basketball player that's listening to this segment and they want to continue their career. Why should they go play at Bellevue University?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. We win.
It's a good reason.
We win. If you go in our gym and you look at our tradition, it's basically unmatched at the NAI level. So I think that's one. But I think the other number 2 is that we're going to treat you well. You know, I always tell the guys when I recruit them, nobody's going to love you more than I'll love you. As a coach can love a player, you know, I really feel like we love our players, and we're hard on them, and we have expectations to them. We always tell them nobody rises to low expectations. We're going to hold them accountable. We're going to help them graduate. You get sick, you know, I'll take you to the emergency room. I'll get you where you need to go.
I'll drag you to a radio interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But whatever you need help with a paper, we'll get you help,
Sure.
you know, with school. But we're going to push you. But we're also going to care about you. We're going to put you around a bunch of other guys that love basketball just like you. I think that's a great recipe for fun and success.
Gordon Lozier Athletic Center is a great place to watch a basketball game, but there'll be a new place to watch a basketball game next season. How excited are you guys about those new facilities? Sorry, Christian.
We're ecstatic.
Yeah.
We will have the premier NAI basketball gym in the country. The university. There is a chance that we could pull out. So hopefully that happens.
We're up against it a little bit, but I have to ask you about this because I never really got to see you and Edley Haddock interact before the watch party where you guys determined your seating for the tournament last year, and you can't help but see the love that you guys have for each other. What's it like to work for an AD like Ed, and what's that relationship like?
Well, Coach Ed is like an extra father, you know,
Sure.
for me. I mean,
We feel that way around here sometimes.
he treats me like gold. And a lot of the same stuff that I talked about that I want to do for my players in terms of holding them accountable and having expectations for them, but still showing them love and giving them a great relationship. Coach Ed, he does that for me. He holds me accountable. He's hard on me when he needs to be hard on me, but you know, he also gives me praise when I need praise. He picks me up when I'm down. I mean, Coach Ed, he's like a, you know, I mean, like I said, he's just like an extra father.
Yeah, he's a man's man too.
He
for
is.
sure.
He's a man's man. I mean, you couldn't have a better person leading the Bellevue University program.
That's the head coach of the men's basketball program at Bellevue University, Lucas Gabriel, brought one of his senior players, Christian Carter, in with him tonight. If you missed the Bruins segment tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620 or wherever you may find your podcast at. It was brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air, and it's fall. You know what that means? You need to get the maintenance done on your HVAC unit so you can be prepared and not freezing in your living room this winter. Head over to controlledcomfort.com. Set up a maintenance appointment so you can have peace of mind about your furnace when the temperature drops outside. Also take a look at your AC unit. Make sure that the summer and spring months didn't take too much of a toll on that unit as well. We'll be right back. We're going to break down some of Marcus Satterfield and Tony White's comments. We come back on the other side of the break here on 1620 The Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Bob Williams with Williams Law. We all know that you hear Bob in here every week talking about the legal issues facing big-time conferences, TV rights deals, pro athletes. You don't have to be somebody of that caliber to work with a professional at the level of Bob Williams. All you have to do is head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com. Bob and his team are going to set you up with a free, no-obligation legal consultation. Whether you're facing a DUI or civil litigation, Bob and his team can help you with all that. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com and book your free No obligation, legal consultation tonight. .647 on a Tuesday night here at 1620 Zone, brought to you by Bellevue University. Download the BU Bruins app on your smartphone. Keep up to date on all things Bellevue athletics. Both Tony White and Marcus Satterfield took to the podium today. And the first question that Marcus Satterfield was asked was, how is Dylan Raylor's confidence doing? And he said he's still super confident and that he knows that they're building something special in Lincoln. And then there's a quote from Marcus Satterfield today that's getting a little bit of bad publicity, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this was the quote that I think I had the most head scratching response to. Dan, can you go ahead and play this clip? Okay, that's where I have the problem. The 1 to 2 weeks is how hard they've been getting after it. After the UTEP game, John Schreiner and I spent 5 minutes talking about how bad Jamal Banks was at blocking downfield. Listen, plays happen, guys miss blocks, assignments, etc. Like, the one thing I will say is the one play that got circled was the Thomas Fidone block early that he clearly missed that should have been a touchdown. And if you go back on the next drive, they run a similar play and Fidone gets to his block and gets there. So I'm not going to harp on Thomas Fidone, but it just feels like this team as a whole is having a problem blocking. I wouldn't necessarily say it's just perimeter blocking, but they scheme outside blocking plays routinely. And listen, you have to call the offense. You've got to be able to call the plays. You can't just run between the tackles or throw over the middle. Like, you have to be able to stretch the field and keep guys accountable out there. But they have guys, and I talked about it earlier with Ja'Cory Barney, but they have guys and they have plays and they have players. And specifically, they throw behind the line of scrimmage a ton. Why are we doing that if that is the known weakness and you've been able to point that out on film?
Yeah, and maybe Marcus Satterfield.
I don't mean to step on you, Dave, but I gotta cap that off with one.
Keep it rolling.
How can you look at your athletic director? And I'm not necessarily all on the Marcus Satterfield needs to be fired bandwagon. I'm not going to say that, but I don't know how you can look at your athletic department and say I need $1.4 million a year, because it feels like Marcus Satterfield knows how to call his system and not know how to call the plays for the people that are in it versus actually just calling the plays regardless of what your offense or the players within it look like.
Bam. And that actually works into what I was going to say too, Jimmy. I don't know where you get off as a football coach and say, well, we don't want to be reactionary. I can understand it from like a very top.
I didn't hate that either, but go ahead. I'll let you finish.
I understand where you get off saying that from like a very top level. But to your point, if you know something is not working, then why keep doing it? It's the same thing of like, why do you keep touching the hot stove if you know that it's going to burn you?
See, and
why do you keep running these plays and assigning downfield blocks if you know that your wide receivers aren't going to take care of them?
If it takes wide receiver number 11 getting out there because he knows how to downfield block, and you just have to be very obvious in what you're doing by personnel, but it's going to work, that's fine. I'm fine with it. And I've heard a lot of people have that take. Like, if his comment was, we've noticed this doesn't work in games and we're still trying, I'm fine with that. He was talking about practice. So if you're repping it and it's not working, maybe that's something to take out of the bag. Here's another quote that it's getting a little less run, but I had some questions about as well. This was some of the negative connotation around hiring Marcus Satterfield out of South Carolina. And there was that, yeah, but they figured it out at the end of the season. And say what you want about Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler's an NFL quarterback, and he's starting right now for the New Orleans Saints. So was it the offense finally caught up and Marcus Satterfield was able to kind of figure it out towards the end of the season? Or do they just have enough players, and specifically an NFL level guy, that overcame Marcus Satterfield's shortcomings? Because the way it looks now, through a season and a half, it's the latter.
Yeah, I mean, how quickly... This is the one thing that, like, I respect about Matt Rule, but, like...
I'll tell you this right now.
I would love to hear...
I'll tell you
real
this
quick,
right
Jimmy.
now. 0% chance he gets fired in the season. Go ahead.
Not that.
Okay, that's where you're going.
No. It's the one thing I respect about Matt Rule is the fact that he doesn't ever really throw anyone under the bus or, like, you know, put everyone, his business or like the team's business just completely out on Front Street and like out and out say like, well, this guy sucks. This wasn't great. Like, this isn't what we're doing. And like, doesn't really chuck anyone around like that. But how quickly, when you see your offensive coordinator saying things like this, do you say, all right, maybe you shouldn't be the one calling plays anymore?
And people forget Glenn Thomas is sitting in that same booth. That wasn't the one that people have questions about. This is the quote that people have questions about. All right, so here's a couple things. He clearly didn't understand the question, and he was clearly thinking about something else before answering it, which is why you had the look on your face when he said that was a good play.
Yeah.
I don't I have a problem with this answer because it's going to live on the internet. I just shared it out. Barstool Sports has already tweeted out that exact quote right there. For anybody that doesn't know, 3.7 yards per play is worse in the nation, by the way. So 4 is not great. 7.5 is the best, and that's Miami.
Is it 7.5? I thought it was 8 for some reason.
No, it's 7.5. And
I think about numbers a lot during the day. So
what I think Marcus
excuse me for that one.
What I think Marcus Satterfield was answering is how many yards he would like to see on first, second, and third down. Because if you get 4 on all 3 of those downs, that's famously a first down. So I think that's where he was leaning, is that he would like to see an average of 4 yards on every single play. But here's the thing. Sometimes you lose yards. That's not good. But yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with the answer because in context, he clearly wasn't paying attention to the question. Now, does that give him an excuse for the answer? I don't necessarily think so. And again, the problem with the internet is it lasts forever. But listen, I know it's not great. It's not going to look good for a while. This offense finds some way to get the ball moving on Saturday. People are going to forget about this.
Yeah, and they're,
Problem is if they don't, this is going to live for a very long time.
Yeah, to be fair, benefit of the doubt just for Marcus Satterfield. If you're not really expecting a question and it comes at you and it's such a...
And he clearly hasn't been very comfortable in this role for a while, talking to the media.
Yeah, and let me say, it's a good question. It's not something that I think the majority of offensive coordinators would just have in their back pocket ready to go.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, to be fair, I do believe, was it a friend of the show, Drake?
Sure was.
Texted into Connor Happer and said, I've already texted 4 high school offensive coordinators and they've told me their exact yards per play that they've had. Very quickly, I might add.
We only refer to him as Drake DeGrassi, by the way. That's what he's called now.
Drake DeGrassi. I love it. But you've had a long day, you've been practicing all morning. You go in and you get shoved in front of the media with, 2 tiny little baby microphones in front of your face. And to be fair, probably about 10 cell phones just sitting on the podium in front of you. You might clam up a little bit. Your mind might start to wander. Probably ready for lunch at that point.
I'm assuming the YouTube users can hear now because we've got comments coming in. Adam said, this is why you don't bring friends on your coaching staff. And that's something we've seen a problem here. I mean, obviously Bill Callahan famously hired one of his best friends to be his defensive coordinator in Kevin Cosgrove and didn't want to fire him. But I don't think that's necessarily an automatic doom and gloom, it's never going to work scenario. The problem is when it's not working, and are you willing to cut ties with them? What does that look like? And we talked about that in the show open tonight when we talked about how Matt Rule didn't want to bench Jeff Sims and wasn't going to until the injury occurred, and how he is faithful kind of to a little bit of a fault in some degrees. But yeah, I think this if Nebraska goes 5-7 again this year, that's still a possibility. We talked about it earlier. 10-2, still on the table.
Yes, it is.
5-7, still on the table. But If that were to happen, if Nebraska were to lose out, there is zero doubt in my mind that Troy Danon would step in and say, okay, changes have to happen. Oh, 100% chance it happens. You can't allow a retention from a back-to-back 10 and 14 performance.
I really want to hold my tongue because at this point,
And it's
year number 2,
yeah.
you have your AD stepping in and saying changes need to happen when he has had his job for less than a year at this point.
Yeah, but he's been doing it for a long time. And he knows what winning football looks like.
Where did Troy Danon come from again?
Washington?
I rest my case.
Yeah.
Not in the good way. I'd be going to jail if I rested my case right now. Bob Williams saved me.
But WilliamsLLC.com. It's his job. It's if you're not going to fire the head coach, and listen, Matt Rule makes way too much money to get fired, and there's proof in the pudding that he does win in year 3. Now he's got to do that here, and I understand if he goes back-to-back 5-win seasons, it'd be very concerning to think that would be a possibility. But that is almost the athletic director's job at that point, is to step in and say, okay, how are you going to win next year, and why should I not fire you right now? Because if you tell me that you're going to bring everybody back for one more year, again, this is all hypothetical. Like, again, I still think they win 3 more games this season. If it's at Nebraska, if it's at Idaho State, those conversations are happening. If you don't win it, if you don't have a winning season in 2 seasons, those conversations are happening everywhere in the country.
Unfortunately, yes. Oh, geez. It's just
Are you
so
reading
much.
the YouTube comments? Is that why you're saying that?
I'm reading the YouTube comments. I'm thinking a lot about Husker football, and it's just putting me all back on my couch on Saturday where I go, is it even worth it to watch this team right now anymore?
See, and I
Which
think,
it will be.
I do. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised on Saturday. And I don't say that when gee, golly, look at these rose-colored glasses sentiment. I say it, look at the way Tony White responded to it. And we didn't get to Tony White's comments because we're up against a little
We
bit.
will later.
Look at the way he responded when he was asked about it. He said, I'm not worried about it after the way they performed the last 2 days. When this coaching staff has talked about how well they've practiced, you've seen it on Saturdays.
Mhm.
And that's the difference between this coaching staff and the previous 2. And I would be surprised if guys like Isaac Gifford, guys like Nash Hutmacher, guys like Ty Robinson come out and lay 2 eggs in a row. Now, on paper and in theory, everybody thinks that this Ohio State team should be better than Indiana. Those 2 teams go up against each other right now, especially if it's in Bloomington. I don't know if there's a ghost in here apparently. I don't know if how many people are emphatically taking Ohio State. So I think they're equal level of competition, but we'll see. I mean, how much different do you feel about Ohio State if Nebraska's able to keep it competitive or even win this game? It'll be an interesting conversation. Hopefully it's one we can have. If you missed this segment, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by our friends at Cunningham's Pub. You like free beer and wings? Well, now that I got your attention, make sure you follow us on Twitter at afterhours1620. Go retweet the GIF of the wings we're going to post tomorrow on a Wing Wednesday. You can be entered into a drawing to win a $25 gift card to Cunningham's. Don't forget, they got Sunday Ticket. You can stop by on Sundays, catch all the NFL games, and have their delicious brunch menu as well. We're going to catch up with 2 people in the Omaha area that are making an impact in the high school level around town. We come back here on 1620 The Zone. Hey everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Forsman's Finest Decks. Maybe your house used to be the talking point of the neighborhood and everybody was jealous that you had the finer things in life, but those conversations have kind of died down a little bit because your house is missing something. Have Forsman's Finest Decks come build you a deck, put a cover on it, add that something that your house has been missing. Head over to forsmansfinest.com and have your dream deck built in 2025. Putting a ball in the first hour of the After Hours Lounge here, brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu. You can register for classes, become a Bruin as early as December. Maybe you're looking to continue your life as a multiple sport athlete. You can do that at Bellevue University. You may even earn a scholarship on the way. Check out bellevue.edu and become a Bruin tonight. Joining us inside of the 1620 The Zone studios is Jarrell Roach and Steve Eppenbaugh from Greater Omaha Youth for Christ and Campus Life. Jarrell, I want to start with you. Can you kind of explain what Greater Omaha Youth for Christ is and how you're helping the community?
Yeah, man. I would say first, thank you for allowing us to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, man. And anytime I get a chance to hang out with Steve, it's a good day. So being with you is also great, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man. Greater Omaha Youth for Christ it's a dope organization. Can I say dope?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
I believe that's still hip.
Yeah, come on, man. Bet.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's a wonderful organization, man, that spends time reaching kids, 11 to 19-year-olds, with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So it goes all the way back to big crusades with the evangelist Billy Graham.
Sure.
Are you familiar with that name? He was the first paid staff for Greater Omaha Youth for Christ. And he was really out doing big crusades to reach men and women coming home at the transition of the war, and so as you're out sharing the gospel and you have big expressions of salvation, like what's left.
Yeah.
And so then the transition came from really morphed into how can we continue to help raise up people right here in our communities when we've done the big work to do some of the relational work.
Why is 11 to 19 the right demographic?
11, 19, middle school, high school, those are prime time for kids making. Research shows it, but I also feel like biblically, it's a strong move towards making that decision to follow Jesus. After students, we see it all the time. After students are in your youth program, because I also work as a youth pastor, they graduate from high school, going to college, they go missing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe lose faith a little bit.
Or they find this notion that they're not under this, I don't want to say constraint. They're not under this boundary of doing what's been good for me. Let me go find my own thing. And then they come back.
Maybe a little less
25.
construction, where to go and instruction on what to do.
Yeah.
And how Jesus would like you to live your life.
Absolutely, man. And so we see the 25-year-olds start flushing back into the church. And oftentimes there's that guilt, shame, because I've been out here, I've been doing things.
We've all been there.
Yeah, come on, man. Maybe a couple times for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think everybody has.
So that 11 and 19-year-old is really prime. It's puberty. It's when they're making decisions that are concrete, that can be concrete for their lives. And when we look back at our life, I'm 42 now. I do preference so many of my decisions now from when I was a teenager.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why, because it was a shorter frame than what I've been, as far as I've been an adult. So we just see it's a prime time. There's so much happening in the body, so much happening in the brain. And so the goal is to do indigenous ministry right there in our communities, to go where the kids are. We believe every kid should hear about Jesus at least once in their life. We believe every child has a right to deserve that or deserves that. And so we break it up into Youth for Christ is broken up into 3 programs: Campus Life, Campus Life Military, and also your Parent Life.
Well, talk to me about you talked about Jesus, and obviously you guys are Christian.
Yeah.
Not everybody is. When you're on campus, Steve, you're obviously at Omaha Burke. You guys have 3 other schools that you have Campus Life at, correct?
Yeah.
When somebody is maybe a Jewish student or maybe somebody just of a different belief, how do you explain to those people, we're here not only just for Christian students, but to help people understand and have a better relationship with their faith?
Yeah, that's a super good question, Jay. We believe in Scripture, as it says, Jesus Christ went about healing and doing good.
Yeah.
So in Ephesians 2, it preferences that we were made to do good things from the beginning of time. And so we like to show up with this motto. We want kids to belong before they believe. We want kids to be able to build in an environment, a good news environment, where they can say, here at this school where I'm at, I have to be at. And if I'm not, I get penalized for it. At this school, I can find a place where I can grow with folks, trust folks, be myself, learn with folks, teach people some things. And it's that psychological safety, man. And we believe every child deserves that too, man.
Steve, talk to me about Campus Life. You're obviously on campus at Omaha Burke there. Why is Omaha Burke the right place for you to be? And how have you kind of grown in your role in Campus Life?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Well, I live in the Burke neighborhood. We are a Burke family. I have one son that graduated from Burke already. I have a senior at Burke right now,
Bulldogs.
and then another couple students coming down the pipe, heading towards Omaha Burke. So
Okay.
that's a great place for our family. It's just a place where we feel connected, where we like to invest because it's in our community, it's in our neighborhood, and
Means
so
more.
yeah, absolutely. So the kids that live around us, that's their school. So we want to make sure that we are involved in giving back to our home school.
When you're on campus, what exactly is your role, and what does your day to day look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we run an after school program on campus at Burke. And it's a culture of invitation. So we're inviting everybody, all students, Christian or not. Like Jarrell said, we want to make sure that everybody has a place to belong. And really our goal is to help students get connected socially. Not every kid is the captain of the football team or
Right.
on cheerleading or something like that. And so for those students that are looking for a place to land, we like to be able to provide that place, a place where we can bring kids on and just have a high energy environment with games, with deep discussions, and again, just a place where they can get connected to their peers socially.
I thought it was incredible. Obviously, you one of our interns, Henry Ludwig, you brought him in here, and then obviously Steve, you and I have known each other for 20 years. But our other intern, Brody Heidemann, knew what campus life was, and it was kind of one of those things. He started asking me, "Oh, is this and this and this person involved?" I was like, "I don't know. That's a great question."
Yeah.
But obviously, you guys are doing something right in the community because
Thank you.
both of our intern students lit up when talking
Yeah, man.
about campus life and how much it means. And listen, when you're big in your beliefs, that's always going to happen, right? Jarrell, when we talk about the end goal,
Yeah.
what is the I mean, and obviously the job's never done. What's the end
Yeah.
goal for Greater Omaha Youth for Christ and campus life?
Yo, that question's money, man. Appreciate that. The end goal is to really foster the reality, the idea and the reality of making lifelong followers of Jesus Christ.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying, man? So I got saved. Christ came into my life before I was 10. I'm 42 now. It's a lifelong journey.
Same, by the way.
You know what I'm saying? Up and down, but it's more up than down. And our goal is to be in authentic Christ-sharing relationships with students, in that culture of invitation and belonging, with the idea that, man, they would come into their own loving, fostering, following relationship with Jesus, man, because we believe there's nothing like it.
Mhm.
We believe, and that's why we're willing to go really wherever they send us, even facing rejection because of our faith-based beliefs. We don't believe that's what it's about. We're just willing to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we're presently in 49 schools. We got other schools coming up. Steve-O oversees 3 schools, and he's knocking it out of the three.
Yes.
And he's knocking it out of the park right now. So our goal, raising up lifelong followers of Jesus Christ.
We have such a heavy influence, or not influence. We have influx of high school athletes that come in here, and obviously, I don't know, Jarrell, if you know this, we try to interview, and this interview is pre-recorded tonight. We'll have Omaha Benson's boys and girls basketball team in studio, but it's crazy how much. Like the first couple of years was during the pandemic while we were doing this. There wasn't as much comments about beliefs in Jesus specifically, but there's over the past couple of years, we kind of see a couple of kids give thanks to God, things like that. So it's really interesting. Steve, for you, when we talk about growth of campus life specifically, you guys are obviously, just because of the nature of what you guys do, are going to have some people that aren't necessarily interested or maybe don't want to alienate some students. What does growth look like for you?
Yeah, for us, right now we're really poised to grow into North Omaha and East Omaha. Currently, we have some schools in North Omaha, but we're in West Omaha. We're in Millard. We're in Bennington. We're in Gretna. We're in Elkhorn. We're in Bellevue. We are all over the place. We're over in Glenwood, Iowa. We have programs in Platteview. We have programs in Valley. And so we really have Omaha surrounded, and we are just poised to continue to grow into North Omaha and into East Omaha. So for us, growth looks like starting programs at new middle schools and high schools located really in the heart of the city.
You guys have a big event coming up. There's going to be a famous Nebraskan there. Our good friend Larry the cable guy, will be in attendance. Can you talk to us about what's happening this Thursday, the 24th, at King of Kings Church?
Yeah. It's super cool. We're super grateful for Larry the Cable Guy coming through and doing a night of comedy for us. It is a fundraising event where all those proceeds will go to the ongoing support of ministry in urban schools. So that north and northeast expansion, that's what this all represents, man. So we're grateful for him coming in and being part of that, and just thanking people in advance for coming out, and want to encourage folks to let's keep filling seats, man.
Can people get tickets early online?
Yeah, they can
Where
get
can they do
tickets. They can get tickets right now. I believe we have a Reg Fox link out there. You can go to our event page under Greater Omaha Youth for Christ, or just our Facebook page, Greater Omaha Youth for Christ. You'll see the advertisement there. You can get tickets there. Of course, you can get tickets at the door. When you get tickets in advance, it lets us understand how we should be preparing. So that's always great when we see those tickets come through in advance. And
Are either of you doing an open mic before Larry gets up there?
This guy, Steve.
Yeah, you got some jokes ready?
Yeah.
Are you
now,
really?
I work as a professional comedian. Steve is doing a dad joke competition. Tell him about that.
Oh, I was totally joking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, as a dad with 5 kids, my repertoire of dad jokes has become quite lengthy.
Plenteous.
And so we are doing a dad joke competition, myself and a couple other directors from that region.
Yeah.
And actually, the person that gets voted best dad joke gets $1,000 donated specifically to their program.
Oh, very cool.
But Jarrell is a professional comedian, like he said. He will do. He's going to do some open mic stuff. We have several different acts and stuff like that planned, so it's going to be fantastic. Got to come out and support, and what better way to invest in the lives of students by also having a great evening out with your spouse or with friends. So turn a date night into a great way to invest in the youth in your community.
Give us the link one more time where people can get tickets at.
Yeah, absolutely. It is goyfc.org. So goyfc.org. That is Greater Omaha Youth for Christ's website. Click on the events tab, and it'll take you right there to get tickets.
Or plug in on social media at Facebook at Greater Omaha Youth for Christ. You'll see it on there as well.
Check out Larry the Cable Guy this Thursday night, the 24th, 5:30 p.m. with VIP access, 6:30 p.m. Doors open. Event begins at 7 o'clock, again, with the Greater Omaha Youth for Christ benefit going on this Thursday. Head over to the website, buy tickets. Guys, thanks for doing this tonight. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Hey, if you missed this segment, want to find out where you can find Larry the Cable Guy this Thursday, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by our friends at Pixel Fire Marketing. If your business needs help with social media marketing, website design, or online advertising, pixelfiremarketing.com is here to help. Their social media experts will ignite your social media presence, entice your ideal client, and engage your brand online. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details today. We'll be right back, buying or selling on the other side of the break on 1620 The Zone.
Boom.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for AX Plumbing. I've been telling you over the last couple of months, Nick Betts and his team have come out and saved my hide a couple of times. We've had a wax ring go bad underneath the toilet. We've had some pipes back up due to some tree roots. AX Plumbing has been able to come out and fix all of those problems long term. If you're dealing with financial issues and can't fix your plumbing problems, there's even financing available. Check out axpservice.com. Let AX Plumbing come out and leave your home or business cleaner than they found it. All right. We've seen the comments. We got your phone calls. We're getting back to sports. We appreciate Steve and Jarrell for stopping by, having that conversation with us. But we are getting back to buy or sell, and now we're brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. If you want to work with the number one roofer in Omaha, all you got to do is head over to pyramidroof.com. Book yourself a free estimate tonight. It is time for buy or sell. Dan Campbell, fire away.
Oh, hey, that's my name. I'm Dan Campanen.
Yes, you are.
And you know what's fun about being Dan Campanen? You have to remember to scroll. Curtis Rourke went 17 of 21 for 189 yards and 1 touchdown against, well, you know who it was against.
Yeah.
He was on the Heisman watch list last week, but did suffer that thumb injury against the Huskers and didn't play the whole second half. Buy or sell, Rourke can still get to New York as a Heisman finalist this season.
I buy, and here's why. So Curtis Rourke also had surgery on his thumb today and will miss 2 weeks, but is expected to be back for November 2nd in the game against Michigan State. I still think he'll sit in the game against Michigan State. However, following that, Indiana still gets Michigan. Indiana still gets Ohio State. He'll have an opportunity to show up on the big stage and deliver, and if he does so, he will be in New York at the end of the year.
Sell super hard.
Oh, no. Okay.
He's not going to play any more football this year.
Oh.
And your best ability is your availability. And to the Heisman voters, you're going to have to do something quite literally astronomical and amazing, which, to be fair, he has the easiest path towards the Heisman, considering that he wears the label in the roster of QB.
Betting
But
favorites a running back. People forget.
Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have the ability to make it to New York unless he somehow has a miraculous recovery and or plays with a splint on his thumb all season. And it was on his throwing hand, right?
Yes, correct.
See, that's bad news. But speaking of that stiff arm trophy and the running back, who is the current betting favorite, his name's Ashton Junty. Both Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward are coming off of big performances, and Travis Hunter is still playing both sides of the ball.
For now.
Buy or sell, the trophy is Junty's to lose right now.
I sell. To your point that you just made, it's a quarterback-driven trophy. And until we get to week 12 and he's still firing on all cylinders like he has been, I know Boise State's coming off of a bye week, I still don't think it's his to lose. To me, Dylan Gabriel made a really big case for him to win that trophy after that Ohio State game.
Yeah, you think he made that big of a case, though?
I think he had it before that, but winning that game was more than anything to me.
So this is a tough one for me.
We're halfway through the season. This is famously where running backs tend to throttle down and not perform at the same level they had through the first half.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
the only reason I'm not willing to. If the award was given today, absolutely, I'm giving it to Ashton Junty. End of the season, I still have my doubts that he can continue at this pace through 6 more games.
So last week was his bye week.
Yep.
So he's probably feeling a little bit better right now. But last game puts up 200. Like, this guy's worst performance in his last 5 games was against Portland State, I guess. I don't know what PRST is, and I don't feel like clicking on more links than I have to. But 127 yards against probably a bad team, and his longest run in that game was 68 yards. It says a lot about him. The fact that we're halfway through and he's already eclipsed 1,200 yards just in general on 126 carries. You know, his average carry is 9.9 yards.
Oh, it's almost 10 now? Okay.
Yeah, if you just gave him the ball and said, have fun, he would probably get a first down.
Well,
99% of the time.
Yes, he absolutely torched Portland State, but he went for 7.7 yards and 7.7 yards per carry, 192 yards in total, and 3 touchdowns against Oregon. By the way,
means something.
It's pretty good.
Now, this is not to say I think it is his to lose, because if he does fall off, then he's got plenty of people who are nipping at his heels.
See, I just think the margin of error is just too thin.
Even last week, I mean, with the comment that we heard from Travis Hunter, while braggadocious and a little bit like
he's lobbying a little bit,
like look at me, it is like a fair look at me.
True,
because he is basically just pointing out the fact that he's like,
I'm the only one doing it like this.
I'm the only one who's playing both sides of the ball.
He's not wrong.
I probably should win the Heisman. And ever since that Nebraska game and everything that I've seen out of him, he's been my stamp since the start of this season. So I've got no problem with it. You mind if I jump to number 5 real quick?
Yep, go ahead.
Because I want
This is
to.
gonna be the last one.
Oh, perfect. The NBA returns tonight. The NBA has returned right now.
Celtics are up 22 at home.
Boo. Rookie Bronny James is a 250-1 pick to win the Rookie of the Year. Buy or sell, LeBron James Jr. can win the Rookie of the Year.
Sell at the highest dollar you possibly can get this at, because there is less than a 0% chance Bronny James is winning the Rookie of the Year. There's less than a 0% chance Bronny James is going to play enough minutes to win Rookie of the Year. He will be a staple in the G League, and I hope he enjoys his time.
Buy or sell, Bronny gets in tonight against the Timberwolves.
Sell. I don't think he plays.
Not even with both of the Griffies there?
Yeah, I guess there's the spectacle portion of it. Sell that he gets more than 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
He
And
might
by
get one alley-oop poster moment. Let's make sure we get this on film and we could say he gave an assist to his dad moment. And if they do that, I hate the world that we live in. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think Bronny can be good enough to play in the NBA. I don't see him getting contributing minutes this early in the season. Now, if LeBron turns into lay GM and says, hey,
Did he ever stop being that person?
got to start playing my son a little bit more,
That ain't happening.
then maybe we start winning some games here
Let me tell you why.
because of our chemistry.
Let me tell you why it's not going to happen. Because he knows he's not ready, and LeBron wants to win, and he wants to win before he wants to win one more championship before he goes out. He knows Bronny's not ready, and also look at the heat Bronny got in the preseason. LeBron doesn't want his son dealing with that on a day in and day out basis, which is why he's going to be at the G League, because he can hide him down there. Take his last name and who his dad is out of this. This is somebody coming off of a very serious cardiac arrest while playing college basketball. Like, the fact that anybody who would have thought or put money on the fact that Bronny would win Rookie of the Year doesn't know anything about the human body. There's no chance that Bronny's going to be physically able to play an NBA schedule. It's not going to happen.
Oh, can I get one more NBA question?
We got to use it for your trash takes. We got to get to the Pavilion Sanitation
Oh,
trash takes.
thank you,
on the
Jimmy.
other
That's
side
a
of the
great
break.
idea. I'll use it for my trash take.
If you missed Buy or Sell tonight, check it out at SoundCloud.com/After Hours 1620, wherever you may find your podcast. That was brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. If you haven't had the maintenance done on your HVAC unit, you are missing out, and you need to be prepared for the winter coming up in a couple of weeks. It's just cold weather. It's right around the corner, and Controlled Comfort can save you from yourself by giving you that peace of mind about your furnace this winter. Head over to ControlledComfort.com and book a maintenance appointment tonight. We'll be right back with our Pavilion Sanitation trash takes tonight. The other side of the break. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Bob Williams with Williams Law. Let Bob defend you or your loved ones if you've been wrongfully accused. Maybe you're facing a DUI charge, or maybe your son or daughter got into a little bit too much fun at homecoming and got themselves in some legal hot water. Bob Williams with Williams Law can help you out. All you have to do is head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight. Bob and his team will give you a free, no obligation legal consultation today. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com. Work with the best attorney in Omaha. 7:36 on a Tuesday night here, brought to you by our friends at Pyramid Contractors. If you want to work with the best roofer in Omaha, roof, windows, gutter, siding, they do it all. Head over to pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate tonight. It's time for our Papillion Sanitation Trash Takes the Night. Dan, you're fired up about the NBA, so I'm going to let you just cook. Go ahead.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Joel Embiid, you're a B word. No one likes you. You're
Big.
never going
He
to win
is
a
big.
championship.
Oh,
You are a trash basketball player. I don't want to say anything that crosses the line too much, but
thank you for not doing that.
yes. Came out last week. Joel Embiid was on some form or function of a
He
program
was on something.
and said, I don't think I'm going to play any back-to-backs this season. And you know what? I'm going to agree with the greatest basketball player to ever come out of the state of Minnesota, Kevin Garnett, and say, what are you talking about? That is your job. Your job is to play basketball.
Kevin Garnett's from South Carolina, but go ahead.
Played for the Minnesota Timberwolves famously.
I know, but he's not out of Minnesota. But go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to say another name who's an actual basketball player who came out of Minnesota. I would pick Suggs over the other guy who you're thinking of right now.
Are you done?
No.
Okay.
It's ridiculous to even put this on record. If you're not going to play back-to-backs, that is a decision that you make with your coaching staff and with your athletic trainers. Not something that you just blatantly say. How would we feel if Brock Purdy was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to play in a game where I'm going to have to play on Sunday night to Thursday night. Or Jordan Love says, you know what? I'm not going to play the second half of a football game anymore. We would be outraged.
This is very unique to basketball. I'll give you
It
that.
is. What if a baseball player was just like, you know what? I don't really feel like the 7-day pitching rotation is working for me. So I don't think I'm going to pitch anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's ridiculous that this is even a thought that crossed this man's head. You are now an Olympic gold medalist for the country that adopted you and got you to come here.
Could be
and
why he
pay
doesn't have
you
the gas, Dan.
Millions of dollars.
He could still be recovering from the Olympics. Do you ever think about that? Maybe it's the Olympics' fault.
Hey, guess who's playing right now? His name's Jason Tatum.
Played on the Olympics.
You know what he did? Well,
did he?
sort of played on
Did
the
he?
Olympic team.
Yeah.
Rant over.
yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I have a little bit of a rant. Mine's going to be much shorter. The Seattle Kraken have set the bar way too high for nicknames of sports teams. I get the hockey club of Utah has to be a unlabeled nickname team for 2 years. They're going to let their fans get involved in it. I'm more talking about the Guardians, the Commanders, the Texans. Bad names. Panthers, Jaguars, Krakens, great names. Bar's been set too high. I think Utah, do us all a favor. Do your due diligence. Make sure this name doesn't suck because the National Hockey League needs it. That was our Papillion Sanitation Trash Takes of the Night. If you missed it, check it out at SoundCloud.com/After Hours 1620 was brought to you by our friends at Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sports. We can't thank you all enough. For anybody that stopped by Jerry Ryan and mentioned that After Hours sent you, you helped sell out an entire rack of clothes. For the first time in over a decade, Jerry Ryan went through their entire Nebraska football lineup before the first half of the season. They are all stocked up now. You can stop by and get the best from Johnny O, Mizzen in Maine, our friends Peter Millar, the best sports shirt you're going to find. Head over to Jerry Ryan on 78th and Dodge and make your Nebraska polo purchase today. We'll be right back. What do we get right? What do we get wrong? What do we see coming in college football this weekend here on 1620 Zone?
Hello, everybody. It's Dan Campanen here once again to remind you that a steak gunner Philly with all the vegetables, including that jalapeno juice to make it extra spicy, and of course, French fries with ranch on it is what I get where? In any one of Pepper Jack's 10 great local locations. So if you're hungry like I am right now, and you're craving a steak gunner Philly, a rice bowl, or hey, maybe you've been hearing our commercial for that crispy chicken and you think, dang, that sounds good. Pepper Jack's has 10 great local locations where you can go and get it at this very moment.
7:44 on a Tuesday night, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. If you need windows, roof, gutters, or siding replaced, head over to pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate tonight. It's time for what did we get right, what did we get wrong, and what did we not see coming in college football this weekend. I'll start us off, Dan. I was right about Georgia. I told you Texas was going to struggle getting up for a game like this, of this magnitude, coming off of that Red River shootout. I know Oklahoma's not the Oklahoma that we're used to. Brett Venables is very much on the hot seat right now, but having the energy that goes into those rivalry games and getting up for a top 5 matchup the following week was going to be almost impossible. Georgia absolutely dominated that game. I don't think that is indicative of who Texas is, but I told you it was going to happen. I picked Georgia to win, and they absolutely did.
Yep. And Jimmy, I was right about Notre Dame this week.
Sure were. You called that.
They just keep on wanting to prove me wrong in my soul. Out loud, I will say Notre Dame is a wonderful team. Marcus Freeman is a great coach. But in my soul, I say, oh, man, I really wish the Irish weren't this good.
You see they're 13-point favorites on the road at Navy this weekend?
Don't believe it, and I won't believe it.
That's insane to me.
Fun fact, we're going to get a little bit of commentary about that when we get over to my what I didn't see coming.
Gotcha.
But I just cannot believe that this Notre Dame team keeps on stringing it together, especially now. That win that they had over Louisville earlier this season looks a lot better after how close that team played Miami this past week.
Yeah, and my what I got wrong is a way of me telling you what I was right about. I was wrong about SMU. This is a way to say that before the season, I told you that SMU was legit and could have a shot at winning the ACC championship. But after that BYU loss, I was willing to pile it on them and say that they were going to struggle in the ACC. That is not the case. Miami is not on their schedule. They'll get a test this week against 6-1 Duke. But SMU might be the second best team in the ACC. Because I'm not sold on Pitt. I'm not sold on Virginia Tech. I think Clemson is overrated.
And fun fact, Jimmy, what I got wrong is the exact opposite of what you got right. I was quietly bullish on Texas because around here, I know you can't be bullish on Texas.
Oh, they're the number 1 team in the country. It'd be hard not to be.
And, you know, it is still, it's always and forever, horns down forever. But I was like, this is a very convincing number 1 team. You can't tell me that Quinn Ewers wasn't going to have a bounce back week and wasn't going to prove that he was the quarterback that we all thought he was at the start of the year. I thought, you know, this was going to be his game to have everyone saying, all right, Quinn for Heisman. Bad haircuts for a Heisman candidate.
It's better than
get it going. And boy, oh boy.
It's better than the mullet he used to have, though.
That Georgia team. I mean, are we all that surprised
winning
that
in
it's Kirby Smart?
Winning in the SEC is hard. The end.
Yeah, especially after the cannibalization that we got the opportunity to see this weekend with Alabama going down. LSU getting another very important win. It's going to be this end of the year SEC kind of lineup that we have is going to be something special to watch.
Before we get to what we didn't see coming, this dropped right before we came on air, and I didn't see it. I apologize. Andy Dalton and his entire family are involved in a very serious car accident about 5:30 today in the Charlotte area. They're all being evaluated. We haven't heard one way or the other how. It doesn't seem like anything was fatal, but that's information I feel like we should pass along. It looks like the Panthers may be without their starting quarterback this weekend. What I didn't see coming this weekend in college football was Colorado. Their defense since the second half of the Nebraska game has been killer. They kept Noah Fifita and that high-powered Arizona offense in check the entire game. They only allowed the 1 touchdown in the first quarter. They're one game away from bowl eligibility, and they probably are going to get there because they get Cincinnati this week. I hate to say it, this Coach Prime thing might be working out in Boulder.
Yeah, I think we all hate to hear that, Jimmy. But unfortunately, that's one that you can't disagree about.
Especially after that first half against Nebraska.
Yeah, that stumble that they had against Nebraska was obviously just a stumble at this point.
What didn't you see coming?
Jimmy, play that anthem. The national anthem, baby. The service academies. Holy mackerel and holy wah, as my friends in the Upper Peninsula would say.
You remember before the season we were talking about how easy Notre Dame's schedule looked?
Not
so much anymore.
Yeah, not happening now. Navy ranked 25th. Army ranked 23rd.
Navy's 24th, actually.
Are they now 24th?
Yeah. Yes.
Good job, Navy. I'm going off of last week's rankings still. because the AP poll has obviously come out too early once again. That's a lie. I love the AP poll again. It's the right time for it. But
By the way, 25th, the Vanderbilt Commodores.
what a
time to be alive.
Also,
Illinois, SMU, Army, Navy, Vanderbilt rounds out the top 25. How about that?
is Newt Rockne coming back to coach this weekend?
I don't think so. I don't believe so.
Where's the Gipper? But no, on a serious note, the fact that both of these service academy teams are 7-0 and 6-0 right now is, I mean,
It's awesome.
it's just a salute to the way that hard-nosed football used to be played back in the day. And golly, if it doesn't like put a little bit of twinkle in your eye and a little bit of pep in your step, just to think about what that Army Navy game at the end of the year is going to look like. Oh, buddy.
How much does it suck?
We're in for some great football.
How much does it suck to be an Air Force football player right now? They're 1-6, by the way.
I know.
Come on, Air Force, get together. Hey, we're gonna give you.
They're busy doing the coolest job
That's
in the
true.
military, flying jet planes.
I'd rather fly a plane than play football too. Hey, if you missed what we were right, wrong, and didn't see coming in college football this weekend, check it out at SoundCloud.com/AfterHours1620, wherever you may find your podcast at. It was brought to you by AX Plumbing. They can do it all from home to residential. They've got you covered for all your plumbing, water heater, gas piping, or backflow prevention issues. AX Plumbing is locally owned and operated. They'll leave your home or business cleaner than they found it. Check out axpservice.com for more details tonight. We'll be right back. Give you a last call here on 1620 Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Cunningham's Pub. It's a Tuesday, and you know that means Wings Wednesday is tomorrow. But if you want to enjoy Cunningham's before a Wing Wednesday, you can stop out tonight. They've got great dinner. They still have their Goliath Tap Takeover going on until the end of the month. They have a great Halloween party coming up. They have that famous brunch special on Sundays where their limited menu for the NFL football games is available. They have the Sunday ticket, so you'll be able to catch your favorite team at Cunningham's, whether it be Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. Stop by Cunningham's, grab dinner and drinks tonight. It is closing time here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. You don't become the number one roofer in Omaha for over 13 consecutive years by accident. Head over to pyramidroof.com, where you never have to settle for less. Not great for your boys in college football this weekend. Unless your name's Dan Campinen, who went 2-1 in his picks. We'll try to go 6.
How?
We'll try to go 6-0 tonight. UTEP got their first win. I don't think they get their second one this week. And give me Louisiana Tech tonight, -6.5. Pitt's offense is stuck in neutral. Give me the under of 63 in Pitt Syracuse on Saturday. And then give me Rutgers +7.5 in the first half against USC. The Hook gets the Trojans on Saturday in the first half. Dan?
Hey. All right. 53.5. That is the total point line in the Louisville-Boston College game. Give me the over there. Louisville almost did that
Good
just
pick.
by themselves this past week. For some reason, Boise State and UNLV, the spread is only like 3 points. Give me Boise State to blow that one out of the water.
UNLV is good.
Yeah,
But
UNLV is
but I
good,
agree with you.
but Boise State should be able to win by a touchdown.
It's in Las Vegas, which is why I think that line is where it is.
You are didn't see coming segment.
There it is.
Thank you. Give me the over of 19.5 points just scored by Navy this weekend.
Oof.
Ground and pound, baby. Ground and pound.
Yeah, that Notre Dame defense is really good. 18.5,
19.5.
19.5.
Just 3 touchdowns.
I know. Well, regardless, I like the under in that game of 52.5. That's going to be a defensive stifle. By the way, if you haven't seen Army's defense and didn't get a chance to watch them this weekend, they are a ton of fun to watch. If you missed any of the show tonight, and if you missed our picks, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhour6020, wherever you may find your podcast. That was brought to you by Warhorse Casino and Sportsbook off 63rd and Q. Slots, table games, and yes, their sportsbook is open. This weekend's game is in Columbus. You can bet on Nebraska by heading over to 63rd and Q. If you or someone you know is having a gambling problem, call 402-806-7344 tonight. For Dan Campinen, I've been Jimmy Allen. Happy National Nut Day, everybody.